deal, we're the real deal. Real deal Unmasked, we're the real deal. We're the real deal, we're the real deal. Real deal Unmasked, we're the real deal. We're the real deal, we're the real deal. Real deal Unmasked, we're the real deal. We're the real deal.
So James and Cherise, tell our viewing audience a little about yourselves.
You want to start?
Well, we're just well, a snapshot of us. We met in high school sweethearts. Met at the age of 15. My wife was chasing after me from high school. And I finally decided to say, you know what? Let me give her opportunity since she was running up and down behind me in school. Let me just, I started to feel a certain way. So I said, let me give an opportunity. So we got together from then, and like I said, and from then to now, it's been 20 odd years we've been through. In the midst of that, many ups and downs, challenges in every aspect of our lives, and that's who we are. I am associate pastor. I am a banker by profession, and you? That's part of my story. That's a part of my story. Yes.
First of all, I want to say, guys, I did not even know that James existed in school. Okay, first of all, let me just get it clear. I didn't even know there was a James until a young lady, one of my friends, asked me to pass the number on. So I do not know where James is getting his story from, but that's the story. I'm gonna let him stick to the story. But we had a meeting like that, guys, and we became best friends, and the rest is history. We're professional marriage and family counselors, sales executive, and just small business owners. And you know what? Most of all, I am his wife. That's the most exciting part of it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
And we have a lot of children, guys. This dude don't like to sleep at night.
Not at all.
Okay, so we have 4 girls, and you know what? The joke is, after having 4 girls, it's like, you know what, honey? I said, what? God promised me a son. I'm like, okay, if that's the case, you better tell God, hurry it up, because I'm getting up in age, right? So after all those years trying, after 25 years trying, or was 22 years then, we finally got our son.
Hold on. After 22 years, that's when the son came?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So I mean, listen, we have a story, guys. I mean, at my age, over 40, I'm like, honey, we had a deal, right? We had a deal. If I didn't get pregnant at a certain time, then I could get my tube started, right? Every single time that we were supposed to get my tube started, something happened. And he came back and said, honey, you know what? Listen, God promised me a son. I said, honey, you got 4 girls, right? And we need to just pack this up because, the man says, as long as you at a certain age, there's so much things that can happen. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to risk that. And he's like, but my mommy had me when I was 45. I said, well, look at you, you're proud.
And you're 41. So
so she still had more time.
Yeah, so all you have is time.
But
so
I'm like,
my dad was 50, so let's go.
But I'm like, hold on, I'm not your mom, and I'm not nowhere as strong as how your mom was back in the day, right? I'm like, my boy can't take that. And so he kept talking about his mom had him when she's 45. I'm like, you better let God hear that because I'm not, my boy can't take that. And so, long story short, we continue holding faith, and I'm like, I have an awesome husband, and nothing that he won't do for me.
Anyway.
And we keep trying. And yes, Linda, after 22 years, we got pregnant. Of course, my kids were going crazy. Like, hey, hold on, guys. Are you guys still having sex? Because, at that time, we were 22-year-old. The oldest was 22-year-old. I think he was like 18. My husband's like, yeah, we have good sex. Yeah, we saw sex. So, like, just save the information. And so got pregnant, and baby James, yes, he's a junior. He is now 3 years old. So we're regular people. Yeah. Love the Lord, love helping families, and we want to spare people the drama that we would have encountered. Oh my God, we went through the unnecessary drama in our lives, and we promised God to pay it forward. Help a couple, help somebody, help a family on our life. What you see is what you get with us, but nothing special other than two people love each other and commit to God.
We know we're gonna do whatever it takes to make this thing work.
And be real, guys. What you see is what you get. So I hope you guys are ready for us. We are real.
Awesome. We see what you have. Mom Mia is in the house. Oh, geez. Julie, good to see you. Gia watching, and Danielle. Is it Danielle? Okay, put those countries in. We want to see. We need to hit a new country tonight. So make sure you put a new country in. Hello, Nakia. Good to see you. Who's that? Yes.
Jaden.
Okay, Jaden. Okay, awesome. Great to see you.
Mia is our second daughter. She's the manager of our channel, and so she's just making sure everything's up and running. So we want to say thank you so much, Mia. Special shout out to Mia.
Okay, go ahead. Definitely share on The Real Deal Unmasked. Mia said Mama and Papa Bear. So I knew it was the daughter. So tonight, I mean, it was great to hear. I think a question we got on Facebook, if you have not heard part of their story, we did an introductory part of James and Sharice's story on
Thursday.
Yes, on Thursday on our Unique Couples Facebook page. And a question came in there, Sharice. I think you might have answered it, but a question came in. How did your girlfriend feel when you started to date James, instead of her, because he wasn't interested. Obviously, he wasn't interested in her. He was interested in you. So this is give us a quick insight into that. How was that? That could be like traumatizing.
Yeah, she should know that. James was a person who never really communicated like that. So what, But she was like, "Hey, did you give him the number?" And so she kept asking that question over and over and over and over again. And I said, "Yeah, he didn't call you." Of course, she didn't. She wasn't happy about it, but she got over it. Of course, she ended up becoming a bully. She tried to bully me, Linda. So.
Wow.
Yeah, she was, wasn't happy about it. And,
we were friends. The thing about it is we were best friends. After exchanging the number, we were friends for a very long time.
Yeah.
Before we actually started a relationship. So it was like 3 or 6 months of just us being close friends. And after like that long period, right. So she just like disappeared into the sunset. So I guess I've seen her after that, but I don't. Oh yeah, she just sent me a message to get you.
Okay.
That's the reason I say it.
So we just want to remind our audience, if you have any questions, put the questions in the chat. We are talking tonight about how sex ruined my marriage. If you have a comment you would want to share about how sex could possibly ruin a marriage, you could put your comments in the chat. We will post those and the questions. If you have a question, you could put type your questions. We will address the questions at the end, so you could go ahead and do that. But we just want James and Sharice to be able to share their story in light of how sex ruined their marriage, and to kind of bring some encouragement to couples. I see Nakia said Dallas, right? Yeah, so go ahead. If there's a takeaway, something that touches you that they said, go ahead and type it in chat. We want you to take what's for you, and at the end, we're going to ask you what your takeaway is, so make sure you do that. And then we're going to give you a spa today, so make sure you stick around for that spa as well. Okay, so James and Sharice, if you could go ahead,
let's turn it over to James and Sharice.
How sex ruined my marriage.
So you want to go first? So before we get started, we just want to highlight a few things. So I'll allow you to get started.
Well, in talking about how sex ruined my marriage, one thing that we want to point out the most to people is one of the top 5 reasons for divorce is lack of intimacy or lack of sex. Okay, so what we're gonna go into something that actually happened in our life, where there was a time when I would have made an error where I misstepped, or I stepped out in our relationship, Like we said, we met in high school. So everybody looked at us, yeah, you're the perfect couple. There's no such thing as the perfect couple. So we started out young, and we're from two different backgrounds. So with me coming from the home that I came from, where I came from a home with both parents, grew up pretty much with a family, with everything, with everybody, very close, and we communicated. Our marriage started out really rocky because we were as much as we loved each other, we were very different. We still are very different individuals with different mindsets, and we brought them into our relationship. Now, with every relationship, you start off, you know, lovey-dovey, and everything is going well, where you constantly having sex all the time, like rabbits, 2-3 times a day. My boys just right next to us, so they know only Jesus. Only the Lord put baby Jesus in marriage. So they have to know that they have to know that. But yeah. So we always had a healthy relationship. We were always best friends. So our line of communication was always there. So it wasn't a challenge with us talking about anything. But the one thing that we could not talk about, or we did not speak about, was sex, because of the way that my wife was raised. Even the way that I was raised, it wasn't something that you spoke about growing up. And as time went on in our relationship, what happened was, shortly after I got married, I started drinking and partying and going out every day, all night, and just not being home, and just not being in place to do what I was supposed to do as a husband. And while Cherise, she got saved, and she was constantly going to church. She loved the Lord, and she was the one that got saved. And I had no plans on getting saved. Being saved to me was not something that was on my plans, on my agenda. I wasn't thinking anything about that. I was only 20, but this is what, 20, 21, 22 around that time. So for me, that wasn't something that, I had planned to do. But as Sharice, while going to church and her being saved, I guess several things happened. What happened was, she developed a relationship with God. And with her going to church, I wasn't going to church. So she would see couples going to church. She would see people, I guess, husbands and wives and family going to church. And she would go to church by herself with the girls. And I would be out partying and drinking. And we still had a healthy sex life. But something turned it around. Something kind of put a wrench in our sex life. And do you remember what touching that part?
I wanted him to say I wanted to come to church, and I was just first, if I could say, you could stage kind of like where I kind of told him that, listen, we're not gonna have sex anymore unless you give your life to the Lord and come to church. And I am thinking that was a good thing, but that was the worst thing I could have done. I was just so out there, and always going to church, and I just felt that I could not have sex with him because he wasn't saved. I think that's the kind of the teaching that
You saying that's what the pastor said, the church that you went to, that if your husband ain't coming to church, then tell him you don't give it him, you're not having sex with him, until he come to church. That's the way of trying to get.
Yeah, and I don't think I know now that was the worst thing I could have done, and I literally did it. And so that's what I told him. And so now you want to tell the audience what you told me? Don't pray that you forget. Yeah, you can tell me. You said after I told you that, you want me to tell them, or you want to tell them?
Since you remember, you tell them.
No, you tell them. Well, he told me that. Okay, you need to give me any sex. I'll go and get sex from someplace else. But I hope to God, if that's so weird, I hope to God that you could never be ever again. That woke him back up. It was just so cool. And he meant that he didn't even laugh. And you remember that now?
I remember that.
It was awful. I said, what?
Vividly.
He said, I hope that you can never pee again. I hope that close up and it can never open up. I will get it for somebody else. That is what he told me.
Right. And I'm glad that you said that because I want you to appreciate, and I want us to appreciate that marriage is between husband and wife, and that the Bible says the bed is undefiled, and that each person's body is the other's. And what we need to appreciate is that in marriage, one of the most important things is sex. For a man, sex is like the most important thing. For a man needs sex. He does not want sex. It's not something that he say, oh, maybe, yeah, maybe I'll have sex. No. In order for us to function, in order for us to survive, a man needs sex. Women want sex and they enjoy sex, but we need sex. So for me, with her telling me that she's not gonna be having sex with me, and this is my wife. Granted, I out partying and I out drinking and doing whatever. If there was one thing that I always was, and that's committed to my wife and committed to my family. Even if I'm out partying and drinking, I'm out drinking with the residual funds after I've already paid all of our bills, after I've already made sure that the light bill and rent and everything, whatever at the time was due, was paid. And if there was something that I had left, that's what I would go out and party with. So at the time, I was extremely immature. So in my mind, you ain't giving me sex, I doing all these things, and I can't have sex with the woman that I love, my wife. I have opportunities with all these other people out there, and I'm saving myself, but you're holding yourself from me. So we want to point out this as well, because a lot of people may not do what my wife did, but there are wives that are withholding themselves from husbands, that are withholding their bodies from their spouse. They're even men withholding themselves from their wives. And we don't understand how important sex is in your relationship. If we understand sex, let me just say there's several reasons why people have sex. Let me just read one of the definitions that I pulled on. It's physical reasons is pleasure, stress relief, exercise, sexual curiosity, or attraction to a person, to make a baby or improve social status. But in a relationship, sex is extremely important. The reason for sex or making love to your spouse is, and that's why you don't supposed to have sex outside of your marriage. You don't supposed to have sex before your marriage. It's simply because intercourse is a form of your bodies when you enter somebody. Not only you enter them physically, but spiritually you connect. So sex is important in a relationship because the longer you go without having sex, you sort of lose a level of connection. And my wife decided to withhold herself. I'm not saying that I was right in what I did. I'm not saying that anything I did was correct because she did that. But I need you to understand that if you withhold sex from a man, what you're doing to him, the way he sees it, is you're hurting him. So what I said to her was to hurt her or to get back at her because she stuck a dagger inside me when she said to me, I'm not gonna have sex with you. So I'm gonna withhold sex from you because it's something that I need. What you mean? I need that just as much as I need to eat. So because of that, what you like? I need food. Hold on, I need air. I need food. Then I need sex. You take them, any one of them three away from me, we dead as men. Let's be real and let's be honest. So she was taking away something from me. So I needed to get back at her. And in order for me to get back at her, and she was serious with it. I thought she was only joking. Like she started out like a day or two. And let's be real. Back and we just got married, we were very young, so we have sex several times a day, every day. Every day. So for you to just say no sex, and for someone that's used to having sex all the time, you sending me in a serious spin. So in my head, I was going crazy, like you taking this away from me. So with that happening, with me going out, I ended up getting myself caught up in a situation where, I was with one of my cousins, and we went by he wasn't married, and he didn't have a car, so he and I we partied together, and we ended up to taking him to this girl that he was talking to, and we're taking it to this girl he would talk to all the time, and she just happened to have a young cousin, and he was like, "Hey, she like you," and look at the devil. Right when she decided that she is not going to fool me, I have someone showing interest in me. So again, let me just fix this. I'm not saying that I was right in anything that I'm doing, but I was immature and I was hurt. So with me being hurt, I end up in a relationship with this young person, and we end up talking and having conversations. And
yeah. And when I saw his pattern had changed, I was kind of wondering, what's going on. And when I say partners change, no. When I realized he stopped asking me for sex, that is when I know something was really wrong. I'm not used to him not asking me for it. And then I remembered what I told him. And then I began to, of course, women, start to check his phone. Then I noticed that it's locked. And then certain things start changing. And then I, began to pray and try to figure out what's going on. And with me praying, because, I literally had an investigator and literally was going on my head. But again, I caused this. I caused this because I made it easy for him to go out there. Because again, I was too busy in church, too busy not, being accountable at home. And, one thing led to the other. But for me, I would encourage the women out there to, pray and look in the mirror and see where you went wrong. I think for me, I was able to look in the mirror sooner than later and found out what was going on, and God then began to reveal what he was doing. And when I dreamt that he, was seeing somebody else, I approached him about it, and of course he denied it. And it was devastating, and that definitely ruined our marriage. That there had me going at my head. I felt betrayed and didn't want to have nothing to do with it. I didn't want, even though I was able to intervene by the grace of God, that it didn't go to the next level where I lost my marriage, but it was enough for me to move out, and I took the years, and that was rough, guys. Not a lot of people cannot get through it. Because I felt betrayed and I didn't want to have nothing to do with it. I literally wanted a divorce. I didn't want nothing to do with it because in my mind, right, thinking of the things you've done, and like I said, I dreamt about it, and he denied it, but I'm dreaming. God has given me names. God has given me location. It was just crazy. That's after I tapped into God. God, show me what is it, to play this game. Either I can go cheat too, or either I can trust in God. And with me taking the trusting into God and me finding out who it was, then yeah, I won't kill this person. So you just gotta be careful as wives to know how far to go. And we don't have the time to touch the different parts that I went through, looking from a woman's point of view. It was just devastating, and I could have killed somebody. I didn't care to live. I kind of forgot all about my kids. That's just how caught up I was and how broken I was. And of course, with that, it's over in my head. It is over, and I don't want to have nothing to do with it. So it definitely was just as it would be. Even if you got saved, it wasn't going to be no sense. So as far as I'm concerned, you've already betrayed. You broke. Trust is broken, and that's it. I don't know if you want to add into that. That's it. And literally, that's it. No communication. No fussing. I didn't even care. You do whatever you want to do. It didn't make a difference. I just wanted to exit straight.
What was crazy about the whole situation is someone that is, I'm the quiet one. So she's a talker, and during that time, she just stopped talking. I guess she didn't speak to me for like 2 weeks. I would be terrified to go to sleep or to even, probably wasn't even sleeping because she was extremely broken. Lost a lot of weight, both of us, because I know I love my wife. I knew that I loved her, and there was nobody else that I would want to be with. But it was just one stupid instance or one mistake where, you know, immature, poor judgment, and there was where our entire everything that we worked on, our friendship, it was gone. I mean, like she didn't want anything to do with me, didn't want to speak to me for weeks. I mean, no conversations, zero conversations. I was terrified to lay down in the bed. I just felt like she would probably stab me or something. So I would. You never know. Right? Usually stuff like that, stabbing is a crime of passion, and you were really hurt and you wanted to get that hurt back out. And so for us, it was a very, very bad place.
Like I say, your choices that you feel different. Like again, do I get back? And why I would want to say, maybe sometimes you can get out of character, and it isn't worth it. You know, I, I was angry, of course, wanting to be spiteful. And, when God said to me, Cherise, do you want me to fix this? If you want me to fix this, take your hands off it and leave it to me. And I literally, again, broken, moved out. However, this is the part what we need to highlight. When you betray somebody and someone is broken, you cannot give someone a time frame on to get over it. And I think that's one of the reasons that helped me is because he was willing to do whatever it took to win me over. And my process of healing was a very long process. But he realized what he did, and the foundation was broken. It was destroyed, and he had to build a foundation all over again. And so we had to start from scratch. But that is something. It was devastating. And again, but we never really spoke on sex, and that's going to be another thing we touch on. And with having no sex because of a betrayal, it made it worse. And so it was easy to step out, and have a divorce. It was easy.
Yeah. So we just come to that period for us was extremely difficult because, like she said, sometimes you make a mistake and you don't want to fess up to what you do, and you don't want to be accountable or held accountable for what you did. Now, how withholding sex was wrong, but two wrongs never make a right. I've never seen it where two wrongs make a right. So because she did something, I went ahead and did something, and now look where we were. We're at a place where I'm losing everything that I've worked so hard to build. My best friend in the whole world, my wife. At the time, we only had 2 kids. Mia was a baby. So everything that we had worked to try and accomplish, I just looked at our future just being washed down the toilet because of poor judgment. And it was just a matter of me realizing that I need to now find a way to win her back and to win her over. So while our relationship was, everything that we had built was uprooted and destroyed, we were at a place where, like I said, she wasn't communicating. She had nothing to do with me. I had to, she was living by a friend of hers, and in order for me to see my kids, I had to go there to see my kids. So everything changed.
And a lot of times we don't think about that. We just think about flesh. And we think about what we want. And not concerned about what the other person wants. So just to wrap that part up here, we've went through the process. We know what it is to do nonsense and almost lose everything. We know what it is to fight, and God has been good because I was able to pull through it. All right. So what we want to do is we want to highlight reasons that cause persons separate, because of sex. Now, the reasons that we're going to touch on is not something that we would have went through, but we would have consult persons, we would have walked through the process of helping people through things, and we want to see if something helps you as well too. Now, I know that James said earlier that based on where I came from, I never talked about sex. So this can destroy anyone's marriage. I think going through the motions and feeling that sex is a job from a woman's point of view is a problem. Because when you look at it being work, you're not going to enjoy it. And I think that's why a lot of people can say, I have a headache. I'm tired, or my period is on, right? And I think that's some of the things that we women say all the time, because you look at it as being a job. You have to know that it's not a job, it's ordained by God when you're married, and it's something that you should enjoy. And that's something that you need to understand and to talk to your spouse about it. And I think people have problems talking.
Yes, and the main thing is in our society we're not good at speaking or communicating, period. We like to have sex because we're always up in we always up in sex. But when it comes to being married and communicating about sex, that's where we have a problem. And that's why we have sometimes people doing things that they shouldn't do because of unfulfilled desires. They're expecting to get something from somebody, but they're not telling them what it is that they're looking to get from them. Okay? So that's what we're talking about, where you're not telling your spouse, okay, I enjoy doing this. I enjoy this when we have sex. So because they're not getting that, that could be a reason why some people would step out and see somebody else, because they feel as if, okay, I'm not going to get it from this person. They didn't communicate it with their spouse, but they expect that their spouse would know what it is that they're looking to get. And when they don't get it, they step out rather than having a conversation about it, or rather than, speaking to the person and saying, we need to do this or do that.
And that's important. It's important. And again, I was not really I felt that you should know what I want. And I shouldn't tell you. But, the being mature, and when you go through some stuff in life, now to say, hey, James, I don't want you to do this. Can you do it this way?
Right.
And,
how many times a week?
Yeah, not that you do. You'd be like, oh, what do you mean? And then you'd be like, okay, so what you mean you just had sex? And then when you know you have your fingers, you're counting, if you don't remember, that's too long. At the end of the day, we sometimes allow work, children, just life, end up, you're so caught up and you don't fulfill each other, and that can ruin your marriage. Like my husband said, he doesn't want sex, he needs sex. So it's important to know that the enemy can come in very quickly when you're not doing your job. You have to do your job, and you have to understand the needs, and again, not get offended.
Right.
Not get offended. I know there used to be times when, my husband would say something to me, and I'm like, boy, some people I know don't have sex like that, which is wrong. I shouldn't have done you.
But I'm married to people. And that's what we need to understand and appreciate.
And so we feel as if more like, okay, because you better be lucky to have sex with you. I was wrong. I was wrong to say, hey, you lucky we have it once a week, which is, like he said, I'm not married to the other person, so I don't compare our relationship with other people. So, stop getting offended and listen and figure out what he wants or what she wants. Okay, other than that, it can basically create a big, major problem. Okay?
I just want to, you start off by talking about the top 5 reasons for divorce. And it's sex, which is intimacy. But I also want to touch on something that a lot of married couples don't take into consideration. There's a study done, this is something that I found, this is the most recent one, was 2018, where they surveyed 660 married people, and they shared the details of how often they had sex in the past year. So let me explain to you how sex can mess up your marriage. 25% of those people had sex once a week. 16% had sex 2 to 3 times per week. 5% had sex 4 or more times per week. 17% had sex once a month. These married people, these ain't single people, people who don't have a spouse, these are married people. 10% of married people hadn't had sex in the past year. 7% had sex about once or twice in the past year. So you want to ruin your marriage, one of the key things is to work on making sure that both of you are satisfied sexually, making sure that you make the time. One of the challenges that we faced after we got over our hurdle with the level of infidelity was now because our lives changed, we became so busy, then we became too busy for each other. We became too busy. There was a period when we were too busy to even have time to sex. My wife is too tired sometimes. We now have a young baby. We have fresh careers. We're working all the time, and we don't even have time to have sex. It's just as if um, sex is something that just happens, and then whenever you have it, it's just a chore where you just do it for doing its sake, but there's really no pleasure. And like I said earlier, if you don't understand the importance of sex in a relationship, sex helps to keep that connection, not just physically, but spiritually. Your spirits interlock when you make love as a married couple. That's why sex is for marriage, because when you make love to your spouse, you're not only enjoying the moment or enjoying the experience, but you're also interlocking your souls. So it's a part of continuing to keeping that connection between your relationship. So when you stop having sex, then you gradually detach from each other, especially if you have a busy life, especially if you're busy, you have a job that takes a lot of time away from you. The more kids you have, the less time you have for your spouse, the less time you have for sex. Let's be honest. And don't be busy like we were, where I don't have a 9 to 5 job, where I work late and then get off, and then we would go to church and be in church, and I'm not knocking church, but you have to learn to manage your time because yeah, where you're busy from work, busy to church, and then when you come home, right.
You did this, or I did this, and you put this, and then at the end of the day, you forget. Whereas I think we can speak on that because I am guilty.
We are guilty of being in that place where so busy, and then when we have sex, it was like a chore. Because I'm doing it because let's just do it. Let's just sort of get it over with. And if you're doing it that way, then what happens as well is one person is going to feel rejected. If you're just doing it to say you're doing it, I'm going to feel rejected. And if people feel rejected, then especially as men, listen, men are grown boys. So what we have to understand is if we feel rejected, we're going to go to the first person that makes us feel comfortable, and vice versa. And that's what happened. And the devil is so cunning, his job is to separate relationships. So if you don't commit the time to working on your relationship, then you're going to be in trouble. What my wife and I had to do, and what I had to do as well, was because we need sex. So for me, it was becoming a burden where I can't go. Don't tell me. I can't go I can't go 2, 3 days, 4 days. I'm sorry, I have a very high sex drive. Yeah. Yeah, I see my daughter looking at me in the corner. Your daddy hot. The reality of it is, if you have I have a high sex drive. So if you deny me of sex, then I'm going crazy. So being busy, I still find myself wanting to have sex, still need to have sex, but my wife is too tired. She's too exhausted. Or she don't have the time. Or her hair hurting. I gotta get up early in the morning. You see me had to help these kids with the homework, or I had to cook dinner. You just reaching home. So what we had to do was understand. I had to do was understand and appreciate. My role is just not to be a provider. My role is also to help my wife. So we had to strategize and find ways to manage time to make, especially me, to make sure that I took the burden off my wife, um, and do some of the duties, wash the dishes, cook the food, you know, um, help with the homework, make sure straighten up the house, help with the clothes, wash the clothes if that's what's needed to be done, do things around the home together. And we'd be surprised to see um, how these simple things will help to take the burden off your spouse so you do not get the pride or feel that way and have a challenge getting the one thing that you need to survive as men. Now, I can only speak to the men because I can speak from my perspective and I know how we operate. A lot of us come home and we expect the food to be there, the kids then dress, put to bed. We expect our wives to be in order because, we bring in the money to the table and we are unwilling to do what it takes to help take the load off. And we expect her to just be ready to just click into to wife mode and to just jump in bed and just make love. And that's one of the challenges that we face and we have to overcome.
Definitely. I must say that, you know, like when you came and you come with that role, I mean, I was so appreciative of that because it showed me that you see exactly what I need. And for speaking to the women, it made me feel now that listen, he's trying his very best to help me, so I need to do my best to help him. And I think for us, we had to understand that do your best to please the other person. So I realized that the importance because I didn't understand why you acting like this. Like why you acting like you're doing so
Hold on,
like why you acting like this?
Listen, some of us men, when we can't get a big mad, he upset
Yeah,
the corner and snapping.
and I'm trying to figure out and then I have to understand that whole I got my husband back. I gotta do better. Like I say, nothing to the church. I have to know use wisdom and pull back and give account of what was going on in my home and have that conversation. Right? The conversation that nobody wants to have. Why did you step out? Why did you do this? What am I lacking? That's a scary conversation. Yeah. Nobody wants to hear, well, you're too boring, or you're too this, or you're dead. Nobody, I'm not saying that I was dead. I know that I withheld myself, sorry. And that helped him to go out there. But that doesn't make it right, like he said. But it's important that you have that conversation that wives, you know what not to do. All right. Like me, I never realized the importance of sex. I was not raised to understand the importance of sex. Matter of fact, if you only know what I was talking of growing up, that's a different subject, different topic for another day. But at the end of the day, I had to learn it, and who better to learn it from? The person you married too. So I had to understand that, okay, this is important. So now I have to learn now and ask God to give me the ability now to be that virtuous woman. Give me the ability to understand how to please my husband. Listen, these prayers work and understanding his needs. And now looking at it as, listen, this is something that's important. And let's hear what he has to say. And I had to try my best to please James, not to point fingers, to try to figure out what James wants. And a lot of the times, we women don't want to give up. We don't want to give in. We don't want to listen when we listen to somebody else. We don't want to submit to what they want. We love to remind them of how many children we have and how hard we work. That's neither here nor there. Your duty is to please each other. And when pleasing each other, this is how things work. This is how you end up with a successful and a fulfilling marriage.
Let me say some of the things because what I had to learn as well is we need sex to survive. But for us, we ain't into all of that. In order for women to be in the mood for sex, they need romance. So when you growing up, there's no one that says when you're getting married, okay, these are some of the things that you need, or there's no book to say how to do certain things, or there's no instructions. No one sits you down and say, do these things. Well, they didn't do it to me. So I didn't know or understand. I knew what I wanted. I knew what I needed. and I know I wanted it from her, but I didn't know how to get it. I didn't understand how she functioned. I didn't understand. And sometimes men, we don't understand how women function. We expect them. We can have sex. We ready for sex anytime. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, let's go now. We ready. But I had to learn that it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way for a woman. You have to romance it as a man. We have to do our part, not just taking on the load, but we have to all also treat them with love and respect so that we can get them to a place where they want to make love. So it doesn't making love in your relationship doesn't start that night. It starts from the morning when she leaves in the morning, the kiss good morning, or me getting up to prepare breakfast for her. You have to find out what works for you. But it's simple things for us where simple phone calls, simple conversations throughout the day, checking in, doing things that I know that she like to make it easier, staying in constant contact, and just little simple love notes. Hey, baby, I love you, I'm missing you. Simple things, doing simple things that that your spouse loves. Because if you know what your end result is, you know what your goal is, just as you set financial goals, man, I would encourage you to set your daily sexual goals. So it sounds, listen, listen, pay attention. If you know you intend to have sex later on that day, you got to start working from the morning. It don't start when you get home. It starts from the morning. So if you get her in the right frame of mind, if you have everything set by the time she get home, she walk in the door, the dishes washed, dinner then there, you already cooked. Granted, you could cook Chinese, you could cook KFC. She don't care. Once food then, she ain't gotta cook it. She fine. Take the load off. You set the tone, set the atmosphere. When she come home, do your best not to get in those little frivolous arguments or comments for no reason. Make sure your home is set, and that's the way to help to open the door. But what we do is we get upset, we get angry. I'm upset with her, she's upset with me, and what tends to happen in relationships is because we're upset, she ain't getting it from her, and then women ain't getting it from him. And let me tell you how men think sometimes. Because we have to have sex, we don't realize that women are not like us, where they could go without sex longer than us. So in our mind, if she's not having sex with me, she's having sex with someone else. And now that opens up a whole can of worms, because in some men's mind, their spouse having an affair because they're not having sex with them. And it's simply because she's overworked, she's busy, she's too tired. So, there's so many different reasons why you can end and you can put your relationship in that place where, you're having an issue with sex. And it's so easy to get caught up. It's so easy to get caught up. So it doesn't mean, I don't care how long you've been married. If you've been married 20, 30 years, the longer you've been married, the more difficult it is, or the higher risk gets when we look at a lot of reports for divorce, because a lot of people don't focus in on their relationship. They don't focus on enjoying sex or having enjoyable sex. They just go through the motion, do what they have to do for years. They're so busy with their job, doing what they have to do, so busy with the children. We have sex on Wednesdays at 8:54 p.m. You gotta be finished by 8:55 or 8:57. That's 2 minutes I can spare for you. Let's get it. Listen, you'll be surprised to know how much people have sex on the schedule. You can't have it on the schedule. You can't have it. It has to be. You have to put emphasis on it. When you were dating, wasn't there a lot of emphasis on sex? Didn't you have a lot of sex when you were dating? Not you, Jamil. Now, didn't you have a lot of sex while you were dating? I mean, come on, let's be real. When you get married and the knife gets on you, you just don't have the amount of time that you have when you were dating. So things slip. So you have to find time and make time to make sure you take care of each other. People's relationships are ruined because of sex, and that's simply because they're not taking the time to have the conversations. They're not putting the proper respect on it, and not understanding that sex was designed for marriage, to keep that intimacy, to keep that connection, to keep that spiritual connection, to keep that physical connection between you two. And when we don't put the proper value on it and we devalue it, then we get it tainted. And once you have it tainted, there's a challenge. There's a challenge in your relationship. And let me just bring up this one thing, not with us, but this is something that happens in some people's relationship. And that's why it's so important not to have sex before marriage. But I'm not knocking no one. I'm not God. He's the ultimate judge. And that's simply because some people may have so many partners before they get married. They get married and they're comparing their spouse to someone that they may have had sex with in their past. And they're expecting their spouse to do or to be like someone that they slept with in the past. That's something that people bring in their relationship as well. And that's a part of it that you need to work on. You need to work on correcting, because you can be expecting something from this person, thinking about someone from the past and bringing them in your bedroom and trying to figure out why you're not having a good sex life. I can't enjoy sex with my husband. That's because you're thinking about Bill, who used to date 5 years ago or 2 years ago. So we need to understand how serious sex is and having sex with other people is, because the more people you sleep with, all those people, your soul is tied to them until God helps you to release those people from you. And you bring all those people and their demons or whatever they have into your bedroom. And that can affect your sex life.
Yes, that's definitely. So guys, we want to encourage you to have that conversation. If your partner is not satisfying you, have that conversation. Find out what is going on.
Right.
Find out what you need to do better. And be open.
Find a way to say it. Because you can say it in a way that's insulting.
Yeah.
Man, you can't do it. You don't do it like, and then some people will be like, you don't do it like Susie, man, or you don't do it like Bill.
Okay, you gotta be very careful on how you present it, but it is important to be real.
Right. Be open.
Oh, nice.
You're in this for the long haul. If you're married, you said to that to us fine. So you can't just operate as if, this is not going to work out by itself. It's not going to work itself out unless you have the conversation, unless you have the discussion, and unless you're willing to put in the work to fix it. And also, don't be offended by constructive criticism.
Yeah, I need to get over that.
Both of us. Because it hurts if someone is telling you, I need you to do this, or you weren't doing this. It makes you feel it hurts your feelings. But guess what? Suck it up. Work on it. And I'd rather you tell me than you tell it talking to someone else.
That's important.
Right.
That's important.
So
it is important that you do not tell people your business, because that very person that you're confiding in may be the one that causes you marriage.
Right.
Because now they know exactly their needs. So it's important to have that conversation with your spouse.
Right. And some people, their best friends are of the opposite sex. And you have to be so careful, because you confide in your best friend who is of the opposite sex saying what he or she is not doing. And your sex life at home isn't, and you're telling them, and they listen to every single thing you say. And you got to remember that we're just humans and things happen. So you have to know and understand who to have these conversations with. And there's nobody better to have that conversation with than your spouse.
You should be able to talk about anything. We're able to talk about anything at this point.
At this point.
At this point now. Before, no. I could not say how I feel. We go through the motion. It was the thing that they say, you fake it till you make it, which is something that I always thought made sense. But it's so not, it's crazy. You just gotta be real, guys. Hi, guys.
Hello. We are taking it all in, and the questions and the comments and everything is coming in. I'm not sure if you were still talking, but you hailed us. So we just have 2 questions. Well, we have 2 questions. We have some more questions coming in. Yeah, so this one says, okay, go ahead. What does this one says?
What if my spouse don't want sex and 3 months has passed? Should I seek counsel by myself if he doesn't want counseling?
No, that's a good question.
3 months is
3 months is a
3 months is
very
too
long
long.
time for you not to have sex, especially if you're saying my husband. So if a man doesn't have sex for that long period of time, you need to have a strong conversation to find out what's going on with him. One, because we need to have sex. If a man could go that long without sex, something is wrong. I mean, let's be honest. So you definitely need to have counsel. You need to seek that counsel. You need to find a way to have a conversation with him so that you can get him in that counseling session, so you can find out what's going on with him, and hopefully get to the root of that problem and find out why he doesn't want to have sex after 3 months. So definitely have the counsel by yourself. Find a way to communicate with him. See if it's because of who you're asking him to go to counseling with. Maybe he doesn't want to go. Maybe he may go to counseling with someone that he is unfamiliar with rather than someone that he normally would know. See if that works. But you definitely need to have counseling. You definitely need to do it as soon as possible. And you need to jump on this because
we know that some persons have faced infidelity and, their spouse going out of their marriage, and you obviously survive and you're here, all cheery and happy and together and had more kids after that. Tell us, how long were you separated after the affair, and then how long before you felt comfortable to actually get together sexually?
I think she moved out for like 2 weeks, 2 solid weeks. She was out of the house. But when she came back, she still wasn't there. I mean, she was there physically, but she was not there in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, she wasn't communicating, and that she didn't come around for probably about a month or two. Could have been about 2 months until she started having simple conversations. And really, it took years for us to get back to a place where I can say where we probably took about 2 to 3, honestly, probably took about 2 years for us to get back to a place of normalcy. Because within that 2 to 3 year period, it was a whole rebuilding process because we're best friends. We talk about everything, we share everything, we do everything together. And the fact that that happened, it really broke her. My wife never expected. I'm not that type of, I'm someone that's always out there, or, there's some people that just have a tendency to always be out there. So for her, that was such a shocker that it really broke her. And I had to realize that I had broken her and that we had to work on rebuilding it, and it was my fault. So I had to be extremely patient with her. And there was a lot of work that I had to do to rebuild that, which meant cutting off a lot of people, just being home and not just telling her that I was sorry, but showing up by, being there and, constantly being around her and doing things with her and giving her open access to me and everything, and working through that in order for us to get to that place where we could now work on mending it, because she was really hurt and it really was a long time. Trust me, it was extremely painful for me to see how hurt she was.
Yeah. So I just want, those of you who are watching here, and those of you who will watch the replay to catch the point here is that it was not an overnight it wasn't an overnight fix, right? It's not an overnight fix. So don't expect, if something like that happens in your marriage and whatever, someone goes, you hurt your spouse, or someone has an affair, or whatever the issue is, don't expect it to be an overnight fix. And then definitely work on understanding your spouse's feeling and giving them space to kind of adjust and grow, and then you need space to kind of work on that trust again. Yeah. Okay, so don't give up, but just know that, hey, it's not an overnight fix. Some people work through it. We're glad the Pinders did. Some people feel like they just give up, but definitely work on getting the help that you need so that you could move on from the place of hurt to a place of healing and growth, which is what you did. We have some more questions.
And just want to add to that too, because as men, we tend to be, because we feel like we gotta be dominant. Once we say we're sorry, we expect for them to just turn on a switch and forget everything and just move forward. So, for the men out there, I need us to understand and appreciate that there's no switch like how we can just turn off and turn it on. Once they're hurt, you have to understand that you saying sorry don't mean that she fully accepts that and she's over that. Again, I can't stress it because men are always, when we counsel people, it's always like, but I already tell her sorry. You told us sorry, but now you have a process of showing up, and now you have to give it a time to come around.
Awesome. Definitely. Oh, we just love this conversation.
Awesome
all of
conversation.
The takeaways in chat. Go ahead and still put your takeaways in chat. We love it. This was real, authentic sharing. And like I said earlier, like we said, hey, every couple needs to hear this story and definitely get some more. And we'll let you know how you can get more. Sharisa, so let us know that we had more to share, right?
Yeah. So you can go ahead and put your takeaways in. Let us know, what did you enjoy?
Yeah,
I know James touched on a number of key points.
Yeah.
Especially especially in talking to the men. And men, like James said, you have to start the romancing from in the morning.
Yeah, you like that part, right?
You cannot wait until in the evening time, And then I like the part where he talked about we set the finance or the budgeting and all that, but you also need to set the sex schedule and all of that,
Yeah,
so
put in that.
yeah, so man, you want to make sure get those takeaways from what James talked on, and you need to listen to this conversation again. This was awesome. This was powerful.
Yes, definitely.
I want to say something before we wrap up as well too. I want to speak to the wives up there as well. Wives, I want to encourage you. Let's don't make it easy for the other woman. Let's not make it easy for the other woman. When I say that, I can't say it no more clear. We're quick to fuss our spouse. We're quick to make them feel like they're nothing when they mess up. We're quick to throw them out the bedroom. We're quick to make them feel horrible. Especially if money's acting crazy, we're quick to blame them. We need to understand that they're human, and we should be the one to build them up. If you're destroying your spouse and you're making him feel less than a man, and then take away sex, you're setting yourself up to lose your spouse. Let's not be so quick to praise everybody else and listen to everybody else and not recognize your spouse. And I simply say that a lot of the times we get so caught up. Again, nothing hitting to the church. We believe in things. We believe in church. But as women, I was guilty. You're so caught up running to church and listening to every prophecy or just excited for church. And, forgetting your home, forgetting your king, which is your husband. Regardless whether you're saved or not saved, that is your husband. Your job is to submit to your own husband. Your job is to please your husband. Your job is to not point the things that your husband is not doing, but it's your job to look in the mirror and figure out what you are not doing. It's important for me to say this to them, but I will not stop. When we consult, we don't, like I tell the wives when I consult the women, I am not concerned on what he did to you. I'm concerned to know what you're doing to please him. I'm concerned to know what you're doing as being the virtuous woman. Do not make it easy for the next woman, because at the end of the day, they're always waiting. When you throw them out, they're waiting to grab them in. So it's very important that you focus on what the word of God says. It's very important to do your part. Yeah, some men out there, they're going to cheat. No reason. They're going to do it. But let it be known that Sharice did her job. I did my part. I'm taking care of my business. So at the end of the day, if James decide on going up and do anything on his will, I have to give account to God for myself. I'm gonna be the virtuous woman, and I'm gonna do the best that I can do. I'm gonna practice to do the best that I can do what I'm supposed to be doing. So do your job. So at the end of the day, yeah, that's on him. You can't. People need to understand that you cannot change the heart of man. Only God has the ability to change the heart of man. Some men just as cheap. Some women just as cheap. You can't change that, but you do your part to make it hard. You do your part. At the end of the day, it's not because you did not do this. It's because of what they want to do. Our commitment at this point, the point of the game right now, is commitment unto God. We need to understand the importance of marriage. This is not a game. This is not a play game. I feel good now. Understand the importance of marriage, and it's no longer about Sharice, it's no longer about James, it's about God.
The commitment to God.
That's it, the commitment to God.
Before we talk about final thoughts, before you do your final thoughts,
yes,
we want to invite you.
We want James and Sharice to tell our viewing audience how they can find you guys.
Yes, because we know that you do.
How they can find you on social media.
Yes, counseling, and you work with couples. So let our audience know how they could reach you and some of the services that you offer.
Okay, they can get us at The Real Deal Unmasked at gmail.com. They could get us on Instagram, The Real Deal Unmasked. Also on Facebook, The Real Deal Unmasked.
Yeah.
And what else we offer?
And also, with all this COVID going on and people walking on their marriages, we recently started a YouTube page, which is growing tremendously, where persons can go on the page and look at the different topics and whatever speaks to them. They can go ahead and listen to our videos, watch our videos, and that is on YouTube, The Real Deal Unmasked on YouTube. Okay, feel free to reach out to us. Like my husband said, The Real Deal Unmasked at gmail.com. Our number is 1242-465-2061. We are professional marriage and family counselors, and we're here to help. But what helps a whole lot is that YouTube channel. You can go on, subscribe to our channel, The Real Deal Unmasked. Every so often we do major giveaways, where we're not just wanting to pray and we don't just want to just tell you and coach you, but we also love to give back to help couples, be able to enjoy life. Yeah.
In the links for us, go ahead and put in the links in there for us. Mia, if you're still there, go ahead and put that in. Yeah. Oh, yes, she did, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, so go ahead, The Real Deal Unmasked on YouTube. You could go ahead and watch. They have information. You share a lot about your family as well, about relationships, marriages. They help with all of that. So you could go ahead and follow them. Go to their page, Instagram, Facebook, and of course, definitely on YouTube. Yeah, so we got that all. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead and follow. And then, of course, the number is in chat. You'll say that number again.
It's WhatsApp. It's a WhatsApp number, yes. 1242-465-2061.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yes. And said they love Pastor, and okay, you can see it.
Yes, I love Pastor James and Sharice Pinder. They are awesome counselors, and they helped my marriage navigate challenges. They helped me navigate challenges in my marriage.
Awesome. Loving this conversation. We must talk and have you on again. The Real Deal Unmasked, all the way from Nassau, Bahamas to the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we just want to encourage them. Let them know that, listen here, you can go through things in life, but if we can get through it, you guys can get through it.
Awesome. We had fun tonight with James and Sharice. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation tonight.
Yes. Any closing thoughts, James and Sharice, before we end?
Mm-hmm. Just basically stick in it, man. We need to remember as wives when things go wrong and we're ready to throw the towel in, know that everybody has something that they fight. You walk away from your husband and you never master the reason why. You go back in there and I'm not doing the same thing. Remember, hurt people hurt people. I would encourage wives out there to fix the problem, have a healthy community, conversation.
Yeah.
And know that don't mind the Facebook people looking so good, like they are always in love, and Instagram. Listen, everybody has challenges.
Yeah.
You have to understand that, in life, until you die, you have issues,
Mhm.
and when you walk away from one husband and end up with another husband, it's gonna be issues because at the end of the day, most of the time is you're the problem. You're the problem, Rice. You don't want to submit. You don't want to look in the mirror. You don't want to change you. And I said it. I'm not gonna even apologize for it. I had to realize that it ain't about what he did. It's about what Sharice needs to do. So I want to encourage you wives out there to just look in the mirror and fix you. Once you fix you, you guys, you'll be okay. Fix you.
And I would encourage the husbands to do the same thing. Because a lot of times we're in relationships, we're quick to point the finger at the other person, when the reality of it is we have very few examples of what it is to be a true husband. So our society is filled with a lot of men that are doing things and just operating, but we don't have a lot of living examples. So we think what we're doing is correct, and when in fact we're not being proper husbands. So it's important for us to look at our relationship and understand that our role and the importance of our role as not just men, but as a husband. We need to understand that there are things in us that we can fix as well. We're imperfect. No relationship is perfect. No person is perfect. So you can't have a perfect relationship, but you can work on improving what you have. And you can constantly, if you constantly work on yourself, you can constantly see improvements, and you can see improvements in yourself and your relationship. So we just want to encourage people to, in our society, we are not used to having conversations about everything. We just used to talking to other people about our problems and never facing the problems head on. And that carries over to our relationship. So we just want to encourage people to have those conversations. And if you don't know how to have them, then that's where we have a unique couples, and that's why we have Defenders. Reach out to us. We can have sit downs, and we can help you to navigate through these challenges and these difficult times, so that you can have a happy and fulfilling relationship.
Awesome. Definitely.
Yes. And once again, we want to thank James and Sharice, the real deal, Unmasked, for
Yes.
an awesome conversation we had here this evening.
Oh, thank-